Phoenix Home Care and Hospice. I choose Phoenix.
Hello, I'm Terry Tucker with Phoenix Home Care and Hospice, and I'm excited to share a little story with you today about someone who's become very special to us. One of our executives has a niece who is an RN. She lives in Arkansas with her family, and she was compelled, had a calling, had a message in her heart that she wanted to reach out during the COVID-19 pandemic and truly do something of significance. And she found herself serving in a healthcare facility in Connecticut, right in the middle of a hotspot. Phoenix Home Care and Hospice wanted to say thank you. We helped her make sure she had plenty of PPE, and we also want to help share her story. So listen in. Jamye Perry, RN. So Jamye, what made you want to do this? What made you reach down inside and say, I'm going to the front lines, I'm going to help?
Well, I honestly, I stood in the break room one day at work, and the mayor of New York was begging and pleading for help. And he said, if you are working in an area that is not in a crisis, please come help. And I imagined us being in that situation and not getting any relief. You know, people being so afraid that they didn't come, and us being mandated and having to work around the clock. And that bothered me for days. And so I sat down with my boss and both of them and told them what I wanted to do. Was I sure? Absolutely not. But day after day, it just really kept wearing on me. I had talked to my husband, I had talked to my parents, and I really felt like this is what I needed to do. This is what I would want done for me.
Can you tell us, in what ways have you seen the communities really step up and reach out to help during this pandemic?
Gosh, the support has been insane. I've been a nurse for 19 years. I've never seen anything like it. You know, all of the free things are always so nice and so generous, but just the people recognizing that what we do is not easy, recognizing that the stress is there, recognizing and saying thank you, just a simple thank you, has been huge. And a little goes a long way. And for me, a little bit of that pushes me to go a whole lot further, and then a whole lot further. And that has really been such a driving force, not because I needed that to go, but because I know that there's a need, and the gratitude and the recognition is just, it's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Now I will say it's also very humbling. The words hero and legend and all those things are just, as amazing as they are, can be really overwhelming. And watching the community come out with that, whether it's the chalk on the sidewalks or the free meals that they send to the hospital, showing up to the hospital, honking their horns and playing music, praying over us, sending in scrub caps or making masks, or anything, all the things, the coloring sheets from the schools, all those things really just made such a huge difference.
Jamye, at night when your head finally hits that pillow and you're exhausted, what do you still worry about? And what are you most grateful for?
At the end of the day, honestly, I'm both a little worried and a little grateful. I'm grateful that it hasn't hit my hometown this hard. I'm grateful that we are making some progress, even as small as it may seem. But I'm worried that whenever we reopen, that we may have to relive the beginning stages of this nightmare all over again. And I know that we can't sustain staying closed. I worry that whenever I go into work, I may not handle well what I see. I worry that I may not necessarily communicate clearly enough and bridge that gap with that family that's not allowed to come in, or that I will take it home to my family when I go back to my home state. And I worry about all the fallout, all the traumatic effects after this. So I guess, I do have a little bit more worry, but I am hopeful that we will come through this. And the reason I am hopeful is because I've seen some of the greatest amount of kindness and generosity come out of people through all this than I've ever seen, ever. Like, hands down, which is amazing.
At Phoenix Home Care and Hospice, we always work for the relationship and to really understand the whole patient and the whole family and the whole situation. And you shared in one of your Facebook posts that was really, really hard for you because families aren't around, and a lot of times you're the only other contact for those patients that are in critical care. How does that affect you? How do you deal with that?
Being the family's only connection to these patients is a tall bill. As a nurse, we always say, way back in nursing school, they'd say, take care of your patients like you would want your family members taken care of. And this pandemic just took it to a whole new level. So when you walk into a room, when you look at that patient, if that was your dad or your mom or your sister, brother, would you want them laying like that? Would you want them positioned? Would you want that given like that or that done like that? And then whenever they call and you're busy and you're all gowned up and you're covered up in the room, and the last thing you want to do is take all that off so you can go back out and get on the phone and talk to that family member, you're forced to remember that you're it. Like, you're all they have to bridge the gap between their loved one that's lying there and where they're stuck at, which is outside the door. And that's a terrifying feeling. And if the patient's awake, then you have two terrified parties. So it definitely is a tall bill, and I think we have to take that seriously. I know I do.
If you could share one statement, Jamye, with the world about what relationships mean today, what would you say?
One statement about relationships. Every one of them matter. Don't underestimate it. Every single one of them. Just when you think that something is minor, it'll surprise you. Every smile, every word of kindness, every single person that you converse with, every relationship that you have matters.
Thank you all for listening in to a little story about someone we think is pretty special. And we give a huge shout out and a big old virtual hug to Jamye Perry.
Phoenix Home Care and Hospice. I choose Phoenix.